Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'll show off some test stands for the Runick White Forest Bystial deck, give you a little bit of an insight into how I pilot this deck, why we sequence things some ways and why we might not sequence it other ways, and you'll see a little bit of my decision making in simply piloting this deck, and let's see what we get. On the first hand we've got our copy of Dispelling, LZ, which is very good, Drewsworm, Sylvie and Destruction. Here I would go Standby main, then normal summon my copy of Sylvie, effect, Surge or copy of Woes. Hope we don't get rolled here, roll would hurt us a lot, but yeah, that's that. Next thing we do is activate our effect of LZ, send the Woes for cost to summon her out, and grab us our copy of Rushia. Next thing we do is special summon, activate the Woes first to reset itself so we can get a booking in the next turn for sure. Next thing we do is special summon a copy of Rushia, and then I would go with Sylvie and LZ into a copy of Coral Dragon. Now I would use Drewsworm to banish the Sylvie, summon them out, and use these two to go into a copy of the Spader. Serenade would have been way nicer than Drewsworm here, because that would have given us access to Rebellion. That's one of the reasons why you might play Serenade multiples. Next thing we do is activate our Spader to special summon back our copy of Sylvie. Next thing is activate Dispelling to special a copy of Hugin. Then we go Hugin effect and send the Destruction for cost to search a copy of Fountain. Now you might be wondering, okay, now we don't have a Runick spell in hand, this kind of sucks, which it does a little bit, but we can fix our hand in just a second. Next thing is go with Cold Dragon and Hugin into our Diabell. Then we go Chainlink 1 Coral Dragon to draw a card, and Chainlink 2 Hugin Diabell to target our Destruction, which we haven't used, to add it back to our hand. Coral Dragon searches us a copy of Rushia, which is decent, but it's not good for this turn. We don't really need her as follow-up, we already normal summoned, we already special summoned her using her effect. So the only real thing we can do is activate our copy of Fountain, then use the Destruction to special summon out another copy of Hugin. And then we can go Chainlink 1 Fountain to search, to draw 2 cards, targeting the Destruction and the Dispelling, and Chainlink 2 Hugin, sending the Rushia for cost. And in a second we'll have 3 new cards in hand. So Hugin searches our Fountain, and then we put these 2 under to draw 2. Tip and Destruction, this is very strong. Next thing we can do is use Sylvie and Hugin to go into our level 6 that is left. That makes sense here, which is our copy of Triage Master, and then go Triage Master effect and draw a card. Here we can go activate our Fountain, then use a copy of Flashing Fire to special summon out our copy of Jerry. And then go Chainlink 1 Fountain, targeting the Flashing Fire, Chainlink 2 Jerry to target our Fountain to add back to hand. So we get an additional draw again, which is Serenade, which is nice. So we have on board the Dispater, the Diabell, the Fountain, the Woes, and right now we have Tip, Flashing Fire and Serenade in hand as potential disruptions. What we'll do next is use Jerry and the Triage Master to go into a Light Dark Chaos Dragon. We don't use its effect because we don't want to banish anything off our own board. especially since we don't have a regained on board. But this is quite nice because now our extra monster zone isn't locked up anymore. And we could potentially summon a Jerry. Because we only have 2 Hugins, we can't summon a new copy out to just protect our fountain, which is not too nice. We could have just as well used these 2 to summon out a copy of SP to have the banishment. And now we have a protection effect for these 3 per effect to summon out a tuner, Dissipator as a monster negate or pop, fountain to get additional draws up to 3 with these, and the woes to book the board, and the Serenity in hand to banish a card from the opponent's side of the field. So that would be quite a nice board that your opponent would have to play into. If you play it well, you can cut them off from their extra deck using the Diabol and the woes to summon out the Silvera. And the Dissipator and the Chaos Angel should offer you some additional protection, just as well as the Runick spells would. Let's get into hand number 2. I'll shuffle the deck and then we'll see each other again in just a second. So for the first card, we got Sylvie, Flashing Fire, LZ, Rebellion, and Waldrake. This is a whole lot of monsters, so this kind of sucks a little bit, but maybe we can make it work. Here we go, normal summon Sylvie, effect to search a copy of Woes, because we don't want to send the Runick spell as cost for the LZ. Then we can go LZ effect, send the Woes for cost to search our copy of Ruchia. Then we go Woes to reset itself, and we can special our copy of Ruchia. Next thing we do is activate our Rebellion, searching a copy of Magnamid. Then we go use these 2 to special summon a copy of our Coral Dragon. Next thing we do is activate Magnamid, targeting our copy of Sylvie to banish her and special summon him. Activate Magnamid effect to search in the in phase for a dragon monster, and then we can use these 2 to go into a copy of Dissipator. Dissipator is very nice because it's kind of an extender. It will summon back our copy of Sylvie, and then we can tribute him for a copy of Rebellion, so that Rebellion sets up the branded regained. Next thing we do is activate our Waldrake, targeting the Magnamid to summon him out, and then trigger the regain to put Magnamid under the deck and draw a card. If you're wondering why we take the Magnamid or why we summon the Waldrake, we kind of here in a weird situation where we desperately need a draw, and at the same time we want to use the regain to summon back the Dissipator, so the Magnamid would just be lying dead in our graveyard. So we draw a card, which is an absolute brick, but we'll make it work. We activate the Flashing Fire here to summon out the Hugin, and then go Hugin effect, discard the Flashing Fire, the Evenly Matched to search our copy of Fountain. Next thing we can do is use Hugin and our Coral Dragon to go into our copy of Diabol. Then go Diabol effect, that's Chainlink 1, targeting the Runick Flashing Fire, and go Coral Dragon Chainlink 2 to draw a card. Of course it's another Evenly, that's kind of cursed, but we're good, we're still cooking. Then we activate our copy of Evenly, and then we can use these 2 to go into a copy of Chenying, Chaos Angel, or SP. Here we'll probably set up the Chenying because we have a Runick spell in hand that we can theoretically activate to destroy a card, then banish 2 cards from the top of the deck, and then trigger the Chenying. So what we have here for opponent's turn is sadly just one Runick spell. We have the Diabell, for which we would discard the Evenly as cost to summon out the Silvera. We have the Channeling as soon as we activate the Runick spell. We have Regained with the Dispater engraved. And then again we have the Woes. So let's say we just pass our turn here, which is what I would do. At some point we might activate Diabell to book their board, summon out the Silvera. Then we go Silvera Chain 1, LZ Chaining 2 to add back to hand. At any point we use Rusia or Sylvie to shuffle back the Silvera to summon one of them out. So we can use them as a body for Woes to summon out another LZ and then go into another Silvera to book their board again. Which this alone is very good for interrupting your opponent from playing. Then we can go Flashing Fire, destroy something, and then trigger Fountain as Chaining 1, targeting the Flashing Fire, and Chaining 2 banish a card from their board and one from their graveyard. Get an additional draw, get a tip, and this is of course a very lucky draw. Now we can use this to basically search any other Runick spell that we need, but this would be how I would try to play it out, at least with this hand. So for the next hand, we get Lubellion, Tutor of the Branded, Dispelling, Sylvie, and a Baldrake. Again, not too many spell traps, but we'll see how we can make it work. Here we go, draw Standby Main, normal summon Sylvie, use her effect to search our copy of Woes. Then use the Runick Dispelling to special summon our copy of Hugin. Hugin effect, discard the Woes to search a Fountain. Then we trigger the Woes to reset itself because we'll send for cost. And here it's a little bit odd about what we should do. I think what I would do here is use these two and go into a Arciella, and I use the effect of Arciella, sending the Etude for cost to search our copy of Rusia, and special summon the Rusia and send the Fountain for cost to draw an additional card. Which of course is another Fountain. What we do next is use our Rebellion to search a copy of Magnamut. Then use the Magnamut on the Sylvie. Activate Magnamut effect to search a Bystial in the end phase. Then use these two to go again into our Despater as our combo piece. Use Despater to summon back Sylvie. Next thing we do is tribute our Despater for our Rebellion. Then use Rebellion's effect to place our copy of Branded Regained. And here what we need to do is go with Baldrake, banish our own Hugin to get the draw of the Regained. Let's see if we can get something usable. We draw a card and it's a Slumber, which is something that will fix our hand really. We can now use these two going into a Chaining and then activate our Fountain, special summon a copy of Hugin. Could potentially even go into a Jerry to get a Light Dark Chaos Angel, but we want the Diabell on board, I feel. So Hugin, go Chain Link, one Fountain. We don't even have a second Chain Link. Actually, Jerry might be nice here to affect the Fountain. Yes, that's what we'll do. So instead of Hugin, we'll go into Jerry, because we can still end on Diabell the same way. And we go Fountain, target these two, Jerry, target this one to add back to hand. These go under the deck, we draw 2 cards. Slumber and Freezing Curses, which are decent. And now we can use either Rusia or Sylvie to shuffle back the Arciella. Then use these two to go into the Diabell. We don't get the Diabell effect on summon this time, which of course isn't great, but it's not too bad either. So we're still fine for that. We can't add back the Etude, but we're still on a good setup, I feel. Here, what we can do is just pass our turn. On the opponent's turn, again, use the Diabell, sending the Fountain to summon out a copy of Silvera. If they summon something, we have the Regain to summon back our copy of our Despater. Of course, I forgot, already triggered it, so we need to do it. Is with the Magnum, we get a Surge, which for me would here be Baldrake over Druisworm. We use the Baldrake, so of course it needs to be Druisworm. So we have a Bystial in hand, which can trigger the Chenying. We have two Runicks in hand, which can trigger the Chenying, which is very good. If our opponent doesn't play a Light or Dark deck, we can use the Druisworm to banish one of our own monsters to get an additional draw, which is also very nice. So we have 1 interruption, 2 interruptions, 3 interruptions with the Woes, which summons out another Silvera. 4, potentially 5, 6, and 7, and then we draw off the Runick Fountain. So this would be a very nice end board. You could build an even stronger board, but it's still very good in my opinion, and you should easily win most of your duels just putting this up. For our next test stand, we get Tip, Flashing Fire, Evenly, Rebellion, and Slumber. This is generally a decent hand, but at the same time we don't have any of the White Forest cards on hand. So what we do first is activate Tip in the draw phase to grab our copy of Fountain, again to play around roll. If we get ashed here, we can still use the Flashing Fire or the Slumber to summon out a copy of Hugin. Next thing we do is go stand by a main, and then we can use our copy of Rebellion, searching a... It's a tough call. I think here I would go Saronir over Magnamut to play around the risk of not getting into any other monsters. You'll see why in a second. And then we activate our Fountain, and then use the Flashing Fire to summon out a copy of Hugin. Go Fountain effect, use Flashing Fire and Tip, and go Hugin effect, discarding the Evenly Matched. We'll get our new Fountain, and we'll get 2 additional draws. Hopefully enter the White Forest engine. I would be happy at this point about any of them, but we'll see what we can get. Whoopala. Nobody saw that. These 2 go under, and we draw 2 cards. This is good. This is very nice, even though we have duplicate Slumber, we'll make it work. Then we'll summon our copy of Sylvie, search our Woes of the White Forest, use these 2. This time we'll go into Diabell again, because we want the draw of our Rusia, and we can get one of the slums out of our hand. Activate the Diabell, send the Fountain from field to search our copy of Rusia. Then special summon the Rusia, use her effect, send the Woes for cost. Or should we send Slumber? That's a tough ask. I think we send the Slumber. If we haven't get Ash at this point, we won't get Ash now. So it's smarter to get 2 draws off, I would say. Even though the Woes is very nicely just free discard for her. We get a Tip, which is cracked, but we'll reuse Tip this turn. But we can save it up for the next turn. What we do next is use Slumber to special summon a copy of Hugin. We can't use our effect because Fountain is of course limited to 2. So we should have activated the Fountain first. That's very important. And then Fountain effect targeting these 2 to draw 2. Then we can take Diabell and Hugin to go into our copy, Arciella and Hugin to go into a copy of Diabell. Diabell effect targeting our Fountain to add back to hand. And we're on 6 cards again. Next, we take the Saronia, targeting the Sylvie to banish. Summon him out. Use these two. Go into a Dissipator. Use Saronia effect, send another Rebellion to thin out our deck a little bit. Though we already have one grave, use Dissipator, summon back the Sylvie. And then just tribute our Rebellion over the Dissipator. Rebellion then will place our copy of Rendered Regained. And here we can use our Drewsworm, banishing our Hugin. This way we have another one in the extra deck again if we need protection for the fountain. And we get a draw of the Regained, since we trigger Regained for this. To have Drewsworm on the board, we can then use these two, either go into a Chaos Angel, but what I would rather do is go into the Chenying again. So here we have a very nice setup. We set the woes, and here we have the Diabell again to either summon out the Zephyr or the Silvera. We have the Chenying that triggers off our Runick spells or our Bystials. We have Regained with a Dissipator Engrave. We have the Rose of the White Forest that will summon out the Silvera again. And we have 2 Runick spells, one of which is Tip, so we get up to 3 draws. And we can search any Runick spell we need for that situation. This is a cracked board and a cracked hand. The Rebellion is a little bit dead on the board, but that won't matter. Alright, I've been sitting here over my camera stand, hunched over on the floor to record this. So let's just do 2 more test hands and see what we can get for it. On the next one, we get a Tip, Sylvie, Destruction, and Destruction. So we get duplicates, but that's a good thing because we can get discards. We'll somehow make it work. Draw phase again, Tip to search Fountain. If you have multiple Runick spells, that's what you should always do in the draw phase. Just to play around draws, so you have your Fountain access and you can still ideally either use it to draw, or if you want to search with your White Forest monsters, you at least can draw on the opponent's turn but already have the Fountain in hand. Next thing we do, Sylvie, normal summon, effect, search our copy of. What do you guess? It's Woes. These are lousily shuffled, but that's random distribution for you. So we shuffle, which we don't really need, I think, but we'll see. Activate our Fountain, and then later use our Destruction to summon out a copy of Hugin. And then Hugin effect, send the Woes. Of course, we should trigger Fountain Chaining 1 for these 2, and then Hugin effect, send the Woes cost to search a additional copy of Fountain. You get a Fountain and a draw 2, and that's what I really love about the Runick deck, is you just draw a ton of cards and usually can extend pretty well. Draw into our Z and our Freezing Curses. So I already plan to go into the Arcella, but what we will do now is what I usually like to do, and I think is way better. So we use the LZ, send the Fountain, grab our copy of Rusia. There we have one. Now we can use these 2 to go into a Coral Dragon. Oh, we forgot to reset the walls, my bad. We of course did that. Just act like I didn't forget it. And then activating new Fountain. Use these 2 to summon out the Diabell. And again, we get 1 draw and 1 adding back our Fountain, just like we did before. Of course, it's a duplicate destruction, which kind of sucks, but we'll make it work. Here, we special summon out a copy of Rusia, and then use Rusia's effect, send 1 destruction. I originally wanted to send the Fountain, that's fine, and get an additional draw, which finally is a Bystial. Let's go. Okay, now we can use Rebellion, search our copy of Magnamut, and again, we're putting up a strong board here. That's what I said is the non-linear aspect of this deck. So here we go, Magnamut, target the Sylvie to summon him out, Magnamut effect to search in the end phase, use these two. Again, we go into our copy of Dissipator, use the Dissipator, summon back the Sylvie, and here the smart thing to do again is summon Rebellion, activate Rebellion effect to put the regain on the board. And here we activate our copy of Fountain to chain block our new Fountain, which you'll see in a second because we want to draw a lot of cards. So what we'll do next is Freezing Curses, we haven't used that one yet. Summon our Jerry, activate Fountain, drawing 1, 2, and Jerry is channeling 2, targeting the Fountain to add back to hand. Drawing 2 cards. Just Tip and LZ. LZ is a dead draw, just like the duplicate Sylvie was, but Tip is very nice. And since I'm greedy, we'll use these two, put up an SP, go SP effect, banish our own Hugin to recycle her, since we then trigger the regained to draw an additional card, which is a dead draw as well, but that's fine. We still have a very decent board. Again, just like the turns before, we have the Fountain, the Diabell, and the Woes. For the opponent's turn, we have the regain, so on any summon, we can bring back the Dissipator. The nice thing about having Dissipator in the graveyard with this is if your opponent uses their Forbidden Droplet, their copy of, let's say, Dark Ruler, you play around this simply because you summon it from the graveyard. It's not on the board yet. Either they need to hold it, so you can still interrupt them with your other cards on the board and in hand, or they activate them early, which negates the SP and the Diabell, but we still have the Dissipator in our graveyard to summon back with the regained. We still have Runick spells in the hand, we have the Woes. So our interruptions are nicely layered. We have 2 monsters on board, 1 in the graveyard. We have the trap on the board that will summon another monster out, and we have 2 Runick spells in the hand. So that's, in my book, a very good hand to interrupt our opponent. Of course, you couldn't see the SP fully. And here you also see the utility of SP as a combo piece on your own turn. Even if you go first, you can use it to banish a card, trigger the regain, draw an additional card, kind of fix your hand a little bit, maybe draw into more Runicks. Of course, you got the Evenly here, but another Runick spell would have been nice. The only issue with summoning SP on your own turn is that your extra deck or extra monster zone is clogged, so you can't summon out your Hugin with a Runick spell to protect your Fountain. But usually game 1, you're fine. Maybe you play against Tempai and they play like a bazillion board breakers, including Duster, Lightning Storm in the main deck, but otherwise you should be fine. You can just trigger it very early, use its effect to take a body off the board, and you should be cooking. Alright, let's do one very last test hand. And I pray to the RNG gods to get some good draws, but maybe a bad hand as well would be good to show you off what you can do with that. We have Fountain, which of course is a good draw. Okay, this hand is cooking just because of these 2 already. Regained, Dispelling, and LZ. That's quite nice. What we do here is go draw, standby main, use the LZ from hand, discarding the regain I would do here because we can still add it back at any point later, to search our copy of Sylvie. Then normal summon Sylvie, effect to search our copy of Woes. Then would activate the tip to not search a Fountain or not summon out Hugin, but just to search another Runick spell so we get more Runicks in the graveyard. We have Dispelling tip, we don't want to have duplicates, so we take the Smithing Storm, simply because these 2 are one-offs. If they go on the deck and you draw into another Runick spell, you can still activate that one. No problemo. Then we go Fountain. Use the Smithing Storm, it's the weakest interruption usually of the Runick spells, unless you want to go for a deck out, and summon out our copy of Hugin, but it's an additional name, so it's good. And then we go Fountain 1, targeting these 2, Hugin 2, sending the Woes for cost, adding another copy of our Runick Fountain. Here we go. And we get 2 draws with still a guaranteed Runick spell in our hand. On a new chain, again, we set back the woes here. We have a quite nice draw with the Rusia. We can just summon her out, use the effect, send the Fountain for cost, and get an additional draw, which is a dead draw, but it's still fine. Then we can use the Rusia and the LZ to go into, again, our copy of Coral Dragon. And then use the Hugin and the Coral Dragon to go into our copy of Diabell. Here we go. Again, Diabell, chaining 1, targeting regain. Chaining 2 is Coral Dragon to draw a card. Here I would just go Fountain. Then activate the Dispelling to summon out a copy of Jerry. Then go Fountain, is chaining 1, targeting the Dispelling, and Jerry is chaining 2, targeting the Fountain. So we get an additional draw here, which is again unevenly. But what we'll do here again is the SP line, where we just go activate our Regain, since we hard drew it, and then use these 2, go into our copy of SP Little Knight, and then activate SP, targeting the copy of Hugin, so we can recycle it with Regain and get an additional draw. Again, we have the same issue where we don't have protection for our Fountain because X1 Monster Zone is clogged. We still have the Diabell, the Woes, SP. Now we have 3 different Runick spells in hand, which is very good. Tip again, such as Freezing Curses or Flashing Fire, we will get up to 3 draws. We can stop an opponent monster from attacking if they want to run over our SP. So that's very good. We can double book. So I think it's still a very decent board. Not as strong as some of the prior ones, but still easy to set up. And quite nice on the opponent's turn, unless they just randomly whip out a Feather Duster. Then you're kind of cooked. But yeah, still a good board in my hands. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and take care. Bye bye.